You are listening to the Hiking Radio Network, where we talk the walk with shows by hikers, about hikers, for everybody.
Mighty Blue on the Appalachian Trail, the ultimate midlife crisis. Join Steve and his guests every week as he staggers from Georgia to Maine.
Hi, and thanks for waiting so patiently for the original Mighty Blue on the Appalachian Trail to return. I'm back from the Camino de Santiago with my hike hobble fully restored, and I'm currently in the UK. As I record this, it is after 8 a.m. in Britain, so that means that it's after 3 a.m. in the US on the East Coast, and I've missed my deadline for the first time. Still, should all be done in a couple of hours, so I apologise for those of you who for some reason hear it at 3 o'clock in the morning in the US. We're back to our usual format this week with an interview with a hiker and the resumption of the book reading about the Camino at the end. Because I'm up against time, there won't be a middle section, though that will return next week. Additionally, the sound when I speak isn't as good as normal, as I've discovered this morning that the MacBook Pro does not have a USB port, so I can't record with my normal microphone that I carefully packed and brought with me. Oh well, I guess that's showbiz. So you got me speaking into my computer mic. It isn't too bad and shouldn't worry you too much. I'll be trying to get an adapter to resolve this in the next few days. This week's guest is Stephanie Lorenze, otherwise known as Sunshine. I actually found Stephanie on Facebook, in my normal sort of cyber stalking, when I was just browsing a couple of the AT Facebook pages. She finished the trail in late August, and this was originally recorded in early September, by the way, and I saw her post and immediately wanted her on the show. As you'll hear, she has a remarkably inspiring tale to tell, and she proved that you don't have to be a long-distance hiker to become a long-distance hiker, if that makes any sense. Anybody can do this. You just have to commit yourself to it. In fact, let's just get into the interview and hear from Stephanie herself. Here's Stephanie, or Sunshine. Okay, we've got a lady who's recently summited Katahdin only a couple of weeks ago, and it's Stephanie Lorenze. Hi, Stephanie. How are you?
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. And the reason I know you summited Katahdin is because I saw this post you did on Facebook. There was this crazy woman in the picture screaming and shouting at the top of Katahdin, which I entirely identified with. But what really grabbed me was this post. And for the first time I've ever done an interview, I'm going to read your Facebook post so people can get an idea, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay, of why I wanted to reach out to you. Right. On March the 3rd, 2018, I started the most amazing challenge and rewarding adventure of my life. I had no idea what I was getting myself into, and I'd never been on a backpacking trip before. I just simply decided that I wanted to hike the Appalachian Trail. So I showed up to Springer Mountain in Georgia and started walking with the intention of hiking all the way to Mount Katahdin in Maine. I mean, you realize how crazy that sounds, don't you, by the way? I walked through the snow, rain, and sunshine. I was either freezing cold, soaking wet, or drenched in sweat. I was swarmed by flies, gnats, and mosquitoes. There were times where I tripped, stumbled, and fell. I found that through it all, and even on my hardest days, I was still smiling and so unbelievably happy. The happiest I've ever been in my entire life. My worst days in the AT were better than my best days in my normal life. It is truly amazing to me how little you need in life to be happy. I am beyond grateful to have had this life experience and to have met so many amazing people along the way. It is crazy what you can accomplish when you put your mind to it. Today, and of course it won't be today, but this is your post. Today, on August 21st, 2018, I summited Mount Katahdin and finished my 80 through hike. It took me 5 months, 2 weeks and 4 days, 172 days, to walk from Springer Mountain to Mount Katahdin. I'm thankful to have found my passion in life, that I was able to find the courage to follow through with this hike despite all the people telling me that I was crazy, that it could not be done. If anything, I encourage you all to do the same. If you have a goal, go for it. No matter what the outcome, at least you can say you tried and that you learned something about yourself. Much love and thank you to everyone who supported me throughout my journey. Happy trails, Sunshine. And then you finished with another message, and I'm going to come back to that other message also later.
Okay.
But, you know, that was such an empowering message, and I presume written while you were still glowing with your achievement just those 2 weeks ago. Have any of those feelings changed or modified in any way since then?
Oh, no, not at all. Like, I'm really ready to get back on like some type of trail as soon as possible, you know. I know I really loved every minute of it.
But why? What made you so passionate about it? That is such a, the fact that you've never done this is extraordinary. I'll come to that in a minute as well. But what was it about the trail that really, really resonated with you?
I don't know. I just like, I love that it wasn't like in real life, it's the 9 to 5 like routine, and you always got to be somewhere. You're always rushing to be somewhere. Like when you're out in the woods, it's just like you wake up and the day is yours. You just go wherever you want. You're outside in nature, seeing everything that is just absolutely gorgeous.
Did you do that though? Because I found it kind of becomes a bit of a routine on the trail as well. It's a great routine and I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But it is the same, isn't it? You get up every morning, you pack your tent, if you're in a tent, you eat, then you walk, then you eat, then you walk, then you eat, then you walk, then you sleep. And that's it, isn't it, really?
Yeah. I mean, like there were some times where I was finding myself kind of slipping into a routine like that, where it was just like walking till you get to camp. But then like, I don't know, there were weeks where I'd try and do lots of miles in a day. And then especially towards the end when I realized I was going to have to go home soon, that's not like, I decided to slow down and just enjoy it. Like if we heard there was a bar at a road or something, we could go to the bar, or like the omelet man, I sat with him for like 5 hours and talked to him. Like, if there's something to do, like I went and did it, you know, like I stopped and smelled the roses, I guess.
Time seems to have a different dimension there, don't you think so? Time on the trail is different to time anywhere else.
Yeah, it's like a vortex. Like ever since I've been back in the real world, I never know what day it is or anything still. I'm still trying to get used to like paying attention to that.
Right. Yeah. Well, so you slowed down towards the end but eventually you finished, you got to Katahdin, and I'll say that there's a great picture of you looking really joyous, you know, when you got there, and you know, it's just everybody who sees that picture will, and I'm going to put it in the show notes, and it will be obviously when this advert goes, this podcast goes out, and that picture of you being crazy on the top of Katahdin. You were slowing down because you didn't want it to finish. When it did finish, what did you feel?
So like, because we weren't actually supposed to summit the day that we did. We were going to summit the 22nd, but we heard that it was going to be really bad weather, and we were like, typical our luck, it would be bad weather the day we want to summit. So I was hiking with another thru hiker at the time, and Beast, and his friend Green Bag came to do the last 100-mile wilderness with us. So when I went to ask him, like that day when they caught up to me, I was like, so would you guys be opposed to like summiting today? Because I think we really deserve like a good day to, just to finish, you know, like the view's amazing. We should have that as our last day. And they agreed to it. So I was like, okay, I guess we're summiting today. But like that morning, it wasn't like until later that morning, I kind of like thought I should ask them and see if they just want to switch it. Because I just didn't want to be up there like in the rain or a thunderstorm. And I was like kind of emotional up until tree line. Like I was trying not to cry or anything. I'm just really sad for it to be over, but I was excited to see my family.
Yeah. Everybody's wanting to see their family, but there's something, it's almost like you leave something at that sign, isn't there? When you walk away from it, you leave something there. You know, you miss the trail. I immediately missed the trail. And by the way, where else in life can you have friends called Beast and Greenbag?
I know, right? That like, it's so crazy.
I love that part of it. So you are missing the trail, obviously, and you say you want to go back again, and yet you're not an experienced hiker. From your post, it says, you know, you've virtually never done anything like this before. Yeah. Tell us how you came to hike the AT in the first place.
So I was living in Mississippi at the time, and I had a roommate for the summer. She was doing an internship, and she was watching a bunch of documentaries on the Appalachian Trail. So one day I like came in from work, and she's like, hey, I think I'm going to hike the Appalachian Trail next summer. I was like, cool. What's it all about? And she like told me all about it. And then I guess like what really kind of like stuck with me is that you can eat whatever you want and like not gain any weight or anything. And
That's a winner. That's a winner.
Yeah. She said something about like, you can just, I think she said it as you can eat as much pizza as you want and not gain any weight and even lose weight. And I was like, I'm in. When do we start? And like, wouldn't let it go after that. I'm like, I want to do the Appalachian Trail. And then I actually started researching on it and stuff. And
Yeah. So what had you actually been doing prior to your hike? Were you working?
Yeah, I was working for my family business. I moved home after my job in Mississippi to save up money and stuff for this trail.
Right.
And so yeah, I was home like from like September to March, just saving money for it. And I guess like really all I did to prepare was like watching Dixie's YouTube videos. And then my one friend's a pass-through hiker, so he was like my guru on like all the gear and just like planning and stuff. And then I didn't do like any shakedown hikes or anything. Like the most preparing I did for it was like Stairmaster, yoga, and then my dad's friend let me camp in his backyard one night.
What was that like, camping in your dad's friend's backyard? And to be fair, that is absolutely nothing like being on the trail, is it?
No, it's just I was like maybe not even 50 yards from his house. So I mean, because he has a lot of land, but he wanted to kind of like give me a feel. I think they were kind of trying to scare me out of it a little bit. But I was like, okay, I'll set up my tent.
So in your mid-20s, I seem to remember you telling me, mid-20s, something like that, 25,
yeah,
26?
I'm 26.
So did the trail come at a good time in your life to do? You know, were you searching for something, or was it just easy for you to get away from what you were doing and doing this? Because to do something that you'd never even experienced before, you just heard of, and you're only doing it so you could eat more pizza, which, by the way, is a fantastic ambition. You were doing it because you could eat more pizza. Could you get away from what you were doing for 6 months?
Yeah. I was like, I was at a good like time in my life to, because I was in between like jobs and like I had my family was willing to watch my pets while I was gone and stuff. So I was like really fortunate in that aspect.
Cool. So your buddy who had been a thru hiker, he gave you tips on gear. Did you find the stuff you wanted, or when you got out on the trail, did you find the gear needed changing? And did you have to make many changes when you were out on the trail?
No, actually, I didn't change anything that I can think of.
Wow. Cool.
Yeah, he recommended a lot of good stuff. Like,
and you mentioned your uncle trying to put you off. What do your parents think of your choice to do this? When you first told them, what was their first reaction?
Well, I think like initially they thought I'd lost my mind, but and I think my dad especially was hoping that it was just kind of like something like I was talking up and wasn't actually going to do. But then once I like started getting gear and stuff, I think that's when they started realizing that I was actually going to go through with it, and that they were worried for my safety. I think at first was the main thing.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, they'd never heard of anybody doing anything like this, so.
Yeah, but did you show them any of the videos? I mean, as you said you'd listened to or watched Dixie's videos, and they're very instructive, and she is always very, very good at talking about the safety aspect of things and making, I think I'm sure a lot of people show their parents these videos of Dixie's because she's brave, I know, but she would talk a really, really good game, and she talks sensible things. She does sensible things. Did you show your parents any of those videos?
Yeah, I did actually. I showed him, or both of them, her videos, and even my grandparents because they were worried too. I showed them her videos because then at the end of the AT, I think she did like a documentary of like all of them strung together. So I showed him that. Yeah. And I showed him another documentary on YouTube. I think it was called Walking Home.
All right.
Yeah. And just to kind of give them an idea of what I was going to be doing, and that like there were going to be other people out there and stuff, just to make them feel a little bit more comfortable.
But they had a lot of time to talk you out, didn't they? Talk you out of it, because you said you moved home to try to save money for it. And so you were home preparing for this the whole time. Did you bring them around before you started, or did you bring them around once you were on the trail for a while?
My parents, so when they actually saw that I could do this, my mom ended up coming and backpacking with me and trying camping too for her first time.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it was near Glasgow, Virginia that she did a hike with me, and she did a really good job. And then, so when she kind of saw that she could do it, her and my dad came out in New Jersey, like right after Delwater Gap, and did like 2 days with me, and it was fun.
But did you have to slow down quite a bit? That's one of the things about when people come and join. I know hikers, they love people coming to meet them, but it really slows you down, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it does, but like at the same time, I wasn't like in a hurry, especially like towards the end. I mean, there was a while where I was doing like 20 to 30 miles consistently, not like 30 miles, but that was like my biggest day. After a while, I think it was like around Massachusetts, I decided like to slow down from like 8 to 10 mile days.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, it was fun.
So what were you thinking when you stood on the top of Springer in March earlier this year? Were there any doubts? Because you were standing on top of that mountain, and it's quite daunting up there. And I suspect in March this year, it was particularly daunting because you had a really cold winter, didn't you?
Yeah, we had a really cold winter. I wasn't like, when I watched the documentaries and stuff, like I expected cold weather, like getting cold weather, but not like at that level. It was definitely made you appreciate having heat and stuff.
So tell us about that. Tell us about, what it was like standing up there. You had all your gear. I presume you knew roughly how to use it, and you were ready to go. What did you do the first night? Did you stay in the Springer Mountain Shelter, or did you go further than that?
So I started like at Springer Mountain, and I didn't do the approach trail up. So I started at Springer Mountain. My friend actually took off a week of work to hike with me, just to like kick it off with me. And we went to, I think it was called like Hawk Creek Shelter.
Hawk Mountain Shelter.
Yes. And so like when we got to the top of Springer, I guess, like, I don't know, I was just like, wow, I'm here. Like, I'm actually doing this. It was just like the anticipation leading up to it, like, was gone. And it's just like, I guess I just start walking now. And that's what I did.
That is what you do. You just start walking. You're absolutely right. Yeah. Did you have any doubts that you'd be able to make it? Because, there is a pretty big failure rate. Were you quite confident if you didn't, obviously you can fall and injure yourself, and nobody can do anything about that. But were you quite confident you would be able to make it?
Yeah, I think mentally, like I had it. I just loved being out there so much. Like I never wanted to quit or anything. The only thing that could have gotten me off trail, I think, would have been an injury.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. And were you scared when you started? Because, because you didn't really know what to expect, you've seen various videos and that, but until you get out there and you spend a night in the woods with trees, the darkness and trees all around you, were there fears that you had as well?
So like, it kind of like, when all the anticipation like disappeared, and then it was just kind of like, it all made sense. Like it was a steep learning curve the first week, just like getting you're setting up your tent and everything down. But I wasn't ever like scared. I mean, there was one night I thought there was a bear outside my tent, and I was kind of scared that night. But
were you by yourself?
That night, I was not like all alone. There was another thru hiker, and she was next, kind of close to my tent, and then there was two section hikers hammocking, and I didn't really know how to handle a bear in the tent situation. It turned out to be deer, but I had a really bad dream that night that the girl next to me, her trail name was Spider. I had a really bad dream that she'd like seen the bear, and I heard her scream like help, and she ran away. So I was thinking that she actually ran away. Like, should I run away too? Like, is the bear gonna get me?
Oh, dude. The things that happen to our mind in the woods, it's amazing, isn't it? It really is.
Yeah, it's like, I was just kind of like, well, I mean, I'm in this situation. I just got to like control and just stay in control of what I can control, I guess. Then I was just ready, but it was deer.
So we've talked about this a few times on the show. How quickly were you able to settle into the rhythm of the hike? Because the hike I found anyway, the hike definitely has a rhythm. You get moving, and your legs are working well, and your strength is up, and everything is working quite well. Did that take you a long time, or did you settle into it quite quickly?
I never hiking. I guess getting my hiker legs maybe took 12 days. That's pretty specific, but it felt like around maybe, the 2-week mark, I was feeling like pretty good. But I mean, I started off pretty slow. Like I did 7 to 10 mile days for about 2 weeks. I mean, I would work in some 15s, and I definitely was feeling it after like the first few 15s.
Yeah, I think one of the things, if I ever give any advice to people, it's definitely start slow, because it is so important to get your legs moving properly. So throwing in a 15-mile day earlier on, I wouldn't even, personally, at my age, I wouldn't have contemplated it. At your age, it's easier, obviously. But getting 10, 15 miles was a target for me. I was doing 7 and 8 miles the first 2 weeks, I suspect, something like that. And what about the lifestyle? Because I hadn't realized quite how disgusting you become, but how easy it is to feel pretty comfortable that way, not showering for about 4 or 5 days. How was that for you?
Yeah, it was like crazy for me, just because, like, I don't know, for the longest time I was just even insecure not wearing makeup. So just being out there without makeup and then being sweaty and stuff, like at first it was kind of weird, but towards the end I like loved it. I mean, I don't really shower that much now anymore.
No, that's not good. No, you need to get over that quickly, Stephanie. Right?
I don't sweat as much, so.
That's true. That is true. Yeah. You talked about your parents' initial doubts over your ability to do this. I know we spoke about this before. What did your friends say when you told them?
I don't know. Like, it was kind of the same thing. They never really heard of anybody doing it before, and I don't know if they quite knew if I was really going to go through with it. All right. They were worried for my safety just because I was like doing it on my own. But
once you got going, were they all supportive? Once you got going, were they follow you on Facebook? And did their attitudes change? Did they suddenly realize, my gosh, she's going to do this?
Yeah, they were very supportive of it. They were wonderful, always checking up on me. And even like at the end, a group of my friends from when I lived in Mississippi, they had a package that with my parents for me to open as soon as I was done. And they like had a bunch of like bath bombs and face masks and some trail mix and candy in there. So, I mean, they were very supportive and thoughtful the whole way.
How did you handle resupply then? The logistics of getting food. Did you just go into town, or did you get your parents to send you stuff?
I just went into town mostly. There was like a period where my mom was in driving distance of me. So she kind of like was my groupie and toured, and she would just have a box of mashed potatoes and ramen for me to grab when she came to visit, which was really nice.
Yeah, she's so going to appreciate you referring to her as a groupie, by the way.
Yeah. Can't wait to tell her that. My fan club, my mother.
Did you become part of a trail family during the trip, or were you mainly by yourself? And I know that you go in and out of different groups of people. It's amazing how the fluidity of the trail makes you be part of a group and then not part of a group. Were you with a family for most of the way?
Yeah, it kind of like it went a little bit kind of like you said, in and out. Like at first I was I had like a pretty good tramway, and then we all like got separated through zeros and, just like different schedules. And then I was hiking with spoons for a while, and that was awesome. But then we got separated. And so then when I got separated from her, I was alone for a little bit.
What was that like? Did you enjoy that?
I did. Like, it was kind of weird at first just because I was really just used to having company and stuff. But I don't know. I found that I really enjoyed like the time to myself. Towards the end, I was kind of getting lonely, but then that's when I met up with Beast, and I ended up hiking with him the rest of the trail.
Beast.
Yeah.
and you're sunshine, aren't you? How did you get your name, by the way?
It's really nothing special. So my mom has a Facebook group, or had one for me, so everyone could follow my adventures. And I don't know, I hadn't had a name for 2 weeks, and I was trying to think of something because I wanted a good name. And the guy I was hiking with at the time, he's like, well, we should name you something after a robot because you never take drink breaks or breaks in general. And I was like, well, I'm not a robot, I have a soul. And then somebody commented that day that my name should be Sunshine on the page. And I don't know, like it kind of stuck with me because I don't know, it just popped in my head too. So when I read that, I'm like, well, if I'm thinking it and this guy's thinking it,
all right,
that should be my name.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, so I brought it up to the guy I was hiking with, and he's like, "That's a good one. Do you want to claim it?" And I thought about it for the rest of the day, and at the end of the day, I was like, "That's my name."
Don't you think it's surprisingly important though? Because you know all these people, you're going to refer to Beast as Beast probably for the rest of your life, which is kind of weird in its own way, isn't it? So it's kind of important the name you get, I think.
Oh yeah, it definitely like describes you.
Yes.
Like Beast is literally a beast. He's really fast. You can't keep up with him. The guy that I was hiking with when I got my name, his name was Kylo, and he looked just like Kylo Ren from the bad guy in Star Wars, except he wasn't bad at all. He was really nice.
Now, you mentioned the ferocious deer outside your tent that you thought was a bear. Did you have many wildlife encounters? Did you see many bears and snakes and moose?
No, actually, I only saw one bear, and I don't know if it's because I'm loud or what, but a lot of my friends saw bears. I didn't see any moose. I saw a handful of deer, not that many. More snakes than anything, but all like Gartner black snakes.
It's funny actually that some people seem to have an experience. One guy I know, and he wrote a book about it. 300 Zeros, Dennis Blanchard. He saw 38 bear.
What?
38.
I only saw one.
I saw 9, and I felt cheated.
Yeah. No, I think I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm conflicted on whether I wanted to see a bear or not.
And so your one bear, was it quite close up, did you see it clearly?
I saw it like pretty clearly. Yeah, it was pretty close. Not like close enough to where I was scared, but it was like I was warned by like multiple day hikers that this bear was on or near the trail and that it wasn't bothering anybody. So like it wasn't even a surprise. It wasn't cool.
Now, I want to read out what you wrote at the end of your Facebook post, which I thought was pretty neat as well. And by the way, did you write this, or was it written by somebody else? And because you put it in quotation marks. Well, I'll tell people what it says. It says, all your life you're told the things you cannot do. All your life they will say you're not good enough, strong enough, or talented enough. They'll say you're the wrong height, or the wrong weight, or the wrong type to play this, or be this, or achieve this. They will tell you no 1,000 times no, until all the no's become meaningless. All your life they will tell you no quite firmly and very quickly, and you will tell them yes. So where'd you get that from?
So I didn't write that quote. I'm not even quite sure who it's by, but in high school, when I was playing soccer, the seniors would always give us quotes before the game to put in our shin guards, and that was one of them that they gave me, and it was one of my favorite quotes. So I've always kept it, and I've always kind of used it to kind of motivate me.
And did that motivate you for this trip? But it doesn't sound to me like you had many people cheering you on before you started. And I'm sure people came round, but it's difficult, isn't it? When people try to put you off from doing something, did you feel that you were being disempowered in some way by people not supporting you straight away?
Yeah, I definitely did. There were a lot of people that just like, I don't know, even when I almost at some points like hated to even tell people that I was going to hike the Appalachian Trail, because then I don't know, they would kind of like, they'd be like, do you know how long that is?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, just kind of like treat me like I didn't do any research on it. And I don't know. Yeah, very negative. And so I guess, yeah, even one person was like, you're just doing this to prove people wrong. Like, don't be unsensible or whatever. And I'm like, no, I'm doing this just because I want to. I don't see why it's such a big deal.
Yeah, well, it's important, and I hadn't realised that. So you had that quote for some time, as you say, on your shin pads when you were playing soccer. So you've always had that positivity about you, I presume. Then, so did the hike affirm that, has the hike given you something you're going to carry forward with you that you wouldn't otherwise have learned had you not gone on the hike?
Yeah, I don't know, like it's definitely changed my perspective on everything and stuff. I don't know, like I look at things a lot more positive. I don't take things quite for granted anymore. Like just the simple things like heat, air conditioning, food. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Well, yeah. It's something that I think we all, and you're only 2 weeks out from your hike. Your thoughts of your hike will develop over the years. I finished 4 years ago, and I still haven't fully processed it. So to give you an idea of what your future holds for you, you're going to be thinking about it every single damn day.
Oh yeah.
And people will eventually get fed up of hearing from you about it, but you still won't stop thinking about it. And I think you're going to learn more and more things about what you took from the hike than you know right now. Have you started getting a little bit down after the hike or not? Because you said you're ready to go out again somewhere, because a lot of people tend to get a bit down after it. Do you feel okay?
Yeah, I mean, like I feel okay. Like it comes in waves that I just like, that I'm like, I'm not out there. It just feels like it happened. It didn't even happen. That's what it feels like. It feels like it was a dream.
Wow.
And I don't know. Yeah, I do get sad when I wake up in the morning and I'm like, I'm not in my tent. I'm in my bed and it's time to go to work. Like I just want to be outside and living life the way it should be lived.
So what's next? What are you going to do next?
So I'm not quite like, I don't want to put too much space in between like these hikes. So I really want to do the PCT next, but I'm waiting on my friend Spoons to graduate college and get an education.
And then you're going to get out there again. Fantastic. Now, there's one more question I'll ask you.
Okay.
If there's a young woman or a young man, in fact, currently thinking about doing this next year or maybe the year after, and especially if they're worried about their parents or what their friends may think, what advice would you give them?
Just go for it, like if that's what your heart's telling you, do it. Yeah, like I said, it is a steep learning curve, but I mean, if you prepare for it, you get the gear and stuff and you save up the money, like it really does make sense once you get out there. And I don't know, just don't be scared. It was a wonderful experience. And there's so many strangers that are even like out there looking out for the hikers and stuff. And that was like really cool to me too.
Yeah, that's a revelation for me as well, I must say.
I'm like, I didn't think there were that many people that just like cared about the hikers or would go out of their way to give you food or just anything. It would appear the trail really does provide. Like one day I had run out of water and there wasn't much water in between like where I was hiking. And there was just like a case of water on the trail. It was just magical. It really is trail magic.
Now, funny enough, that is trail magic. People refer to these trail feeds as trail magic, but that is trail magic, finding things when you need them. And it's extraordinary how many times people say something like that. You found a case of water when you needed water. I once was climbing up towards Clingman's Dome. I'd run out of water, and somebody earlier in the day had given me a sweet, a candy.
Yeah.
Three for no apparent reason. I'd never met them before. They just said, "Would you like these candies?" And just gave me 3. Didn't talk to me, just walked away from me.
Yeah.
And I got to Clingman's Dome thinking I could fill up with water there, and there's no way to fill up with water. And I was out. I had another 4 or 5 miles with no water. I was parched. And I suddenly realized I had these candies in my pocket. So I just ate them, sucked them. So it gave me some, liquid in my mouth again. And it's just like you need stuff and it just happens to you, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's amazing. It really just appears. There's so many instances I could name that are just popping in my head right now.
Yes,
or wonderful.
So what did your folks think about you when you finished? Were they proud, or do they think it's something that you've got out of your system and you won't be doing it again?
No, they were proud, and I proved them wrong. I proved my dad wrong. My mom knew I could do it.
Oh, that's good. I'm sure. Do you know what? I'm sure your dad really knew. He was just worried about you.
Yeah.
And that's understandable. That's understandable. All right, then. Well, look, lovely to talk with you. And I'm so glad that I followed up on that post, and hope I didn't embarrass you reading it out, because I thought it's such a positive post that I really wanted people to hear what a positive story you had from not knowing how to do this to suddenly actually completing it. And so many people think they can't do it. You just got up there and put one foot in front of the other for 5 million steps, and you got there, which I think is just bloody marvelous.
Yeah, you can totally do it. And you're capable of anything you put your mind to. So I'll mind over matter.
Yeah, absolutely right. Okay. Well, I'd love to talk to you, and hopefully we'll speak again sometime.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Cheers then. Bye.
Bye.
How about that? She was a complete novice and originally wanted to go because she could eat unlimited pizza. I've heard several reasons for doing this hike, but that has to be a first. And from that original post, it was striking, and I suppose a bit sad, that people kept trying to put her off. I always want to leave a positive impression with these stories, and I hope that those of you who are getting pushback on your plans listen closely to Stephanie. Her reasons for going may have been unusual, but once she set her sights, she didn't allow anybody to put her off. At the end of the day, she had the perfect response to the doubters. I also think that informing your loved ones through videos like Dixie's is a really important part of the process of understanding for them. I think Stephanie was positive in every aspect of her hike, and of course, she still got to eat all the pizza she wanted. Next week, I've got an interview with Darwin, another of the great YouTubers. He's an interesting guy who's passionate about hiking. You're going to get a lot out of Darwin. In a couple of weeks, I'll be rolling out another new series, and this will be the middle portion of the show. It will focus on some of the class of 2019 and their responses to the same set of questions. I'm actually going to be instigating the series by a full-length interview with one of that class, Nate Stockton. Nate is a fellow member of the group I joined, Fat Guys and Gals, back in the woods. We were chatting so much about it that our initial 10-minute chat ended up being a full 30 minutes. So I thought, let's start the series that way. I'll probably start that one at the beginning of December. As you know, I've said that I'm also going to be a member of the class of 2019, and I'll be sharing a few thoughts about that along the way as well. For now, though, I'm still enmeshed, I guess is the word, in my recent Camino hike. Many of you wrote to tell me that how much you enjoyed that format, so I'll be repeating it on the AT. I'm not sure about the accessibility to Wi-Fi, but I guess I'll have to work that out as I go along. So now, with the Camino still sloshing around in my mind, we have the 16th chapter and 15th day of The Year We Seize the Day by Ellie Best and Colin Bowles. I'll see you next week. Chapter 16, Day 15, Castro Harith to Fromista. Colin, post Merced attention. Tomorrow starts for us with the low and slow murmurings of a Gregorian chant. Upstairs, the monk who runs our refugio has prepared café con leche and dry biscuits. We gobble them down and set off into the dawn. A little German man with a pot belly and bristled grey moustache, whom we have christened Bavaria, sets off ahead in his leather shorts and trident, strudel-thickened bum wobbling like a jelly on springs. Ahead is an almost vertical climb up the cliffs where we watched the sun dip the previous night. It's like a shot of espresso. Ellie and I walk it step by step, non-stop to the very top, hearts thumping in our chests like balls being kicked around in a gymnasium. We're at our best with each other here, urging each other on, even with our lungs burning and our thigh muscles screaming at us to stop. The limestone path tracks through more, I don't know if I can bring myself to write the word again. Let's call it grain. And past a monastery that is now an albergue where the pilgrims are only just out of bed at 10:30 in the morning. They all have hangovers. No Gregorian chants for them. At this monastery they get wasted and sleep half the day. If only we'd walked another 5 kilometres, we too could have woken up with hangovers and felt normal again. More fields of cereal, and then we follow a straight path through more fields full of the W word for 7 hours in the sun, and I'm hot and tired and hungry. And Ellie says something innocuous, and this is my excuse to blame my mood, the heat, my feet, the wheat, my marriage, my affair, and the state of world peace on her. We hiss insults at each other and frighten a couple of ducks sitting in an irrigation ditch. By mid-afternoon we can barely manage a civil word. We have been walking for 2 weeks and Santiago is getting further away all the time.
Ellie, beep beep. Colin has a unique ability to both offend and befriend people while somehow remaining oblivious to it all. You have to know him to understand. He's complex in thought but simple by nature. Honest, genuine and direct. It's priceless to watch him, and for the most part the result of his behaviour is completely unintentional. Spotting 3 new pilgrims on a quiet and tranquil stretch of the isolated trail, I prepare for the usual exchanges. This path attracts such a diverse mix of cultures. Hola and buen camino are the Camino's cross-cultural catch cries. Colin, however, refuses to attempt Spanish, preferring to maintain his direct approach with people despite our surroundings. We walk into bars and I go thirsty for 10 minutes trying to work out the exact pronunciation of an order, while Colin yells, "Beer thanks mate, cheers," towards the Spanish barman and takes a seat. He's on his 3rd by the time I sit down. The barmen in this region don't understand English. There must just be a universal bond when it comes to men and beer. A secret language communicated with a wink and a nod. As we approach from behind, the 3 new pilgrims don't hear us coming. 2 steps back and holas at the ready, Colin beats me to it. Beep beep. The group jumps startled and scatter as Colin marches straight through the pack. "G'day mate, how you going?" Hot as a bastard, eh? No reply. Instantly, the three scowl daggers at us from behind and are left holding their hearts as we continue up the trail. Cole, they hate us. What? He starts to whistle a tune. But as offensive as he can be, there's something endearing about the guy that reels you back in, time and time again. Sure enough, by 10:30 a.m, he's won the group over, and the three are laughing and drinking vino with us down the road in the raucous monastery Kamalberg, St. Nicholas. It turns out they are American. Krusty assures me that it's okay to be rude to Yanks. They're used to it. He's a proud ambassador for our country. I vowed before I came away that I would not complain, not a word, not once. This would be part of my challenge that no one else need know. On the outside, I'm winning. Inside, however, there's a storm brewing that's getting harder and harder to contain. Yesterday, while pacing uphill through a desolate stretch of rural desert toward the high plains of Hontanus, I snapped. I needed an answer right then and there, an inkling, an insight, a purpose, a goal, something, anything that would justify my presence here, inspire my next step, or, at the very least, make it all seem less meaningless. Hours and hours of dead wheat and heat, and absolutely nothing to look forward to but hours and hours of more dead wheat and heat and wheat to come. What the hell was I doing? Would any of this matter to me or anyone else? Would it make me a better mother someday? Did anyone really care what happened to me out here in a wheat field in the middle of a foreign country with a guy I fear may be slowly losing his mind? Hadn't my body been through enough? What was the point? I wondered what others had found on this path beneath the stars. Was there really something out here for me? Suddenly I stopped, threw my head back and screamed towards a stark sky. Where's my stuff? Poor Cole stopped dead in his tracks as if he'd been shot. The Camino so far, the pilgrimage, the entire experience, has been nothing like I expected it would be. I expected to find distance, space, clarity and perspective. Peaceful thoughts, quiet contemplations, answers, insights and understanding. Future solutions among beautiful surroundings. But I look around and there is little beauty here. Camino commercialisation has raped what little there ever was. A once sacred land has been brutalised by a 5-metre-wide path torn through fields by modern machinery. The rubble remains piled high on either side. I know because I have to scramble up and over it every time I need to pee. The elements are harsh, dry, lifeless and unsympathetic. The land is yellow, so very yellow. Through the lenses of my sunglasses, it appears a varying spectrum of beige. Slightly more interesting, but still, shades of yellow nonetheless. Can I not just have one glimpse of blue or green or something to give me hope?
Colin, walk slowly and carry a big stick. Sit in a sauna. Close your eyes. Imagine wheat fields going on forever. In the distance is a church spire and a clump of houses. Behind you is another church spire and more little houses that look just the same. Have someone stamp on your feet until they're bruised and bleeding. Now you know what it's like to walk the Spanish Meseta. Ellie and I have an uneasy truce. She's a woman, a witness to the most vulnerable and shameful moment of my life. And she wants me around for all those reasons that I've manipulated before so many times in my life and come to regret so bitterly right now. I could kill her. And yet I love her. Her spirit, her determination, her unquenchable fire. Now she has walked 2 days without me. I'm puzzled why she ever wanted me along at all. What do you think of guns? Ellie asks me. Don't like 'em. Always afraid they'll go off. Shot a rabbit once. In a field? No, it was in a cage in a pet shop. Couldn't miss really. White fluffy thing. I shot my aunt once. Again? I shot my aunt with a high-powered air rifle. You shot her? Where? At the back of our house. I meant, where in the body did you shoot her? In the arse. Why? She was pissing me off. So I jammed a spitball in the barrel and shot her while she was 6 feet up a ladder. Jesus! It left this awesome bruise like a big blue spider. She had to dig the spitball out with tweezers. She wanted to kill me, chase me down the street. Remind me not to piss you off. Too late. Lucky I don't have my rifle. I think she's just joking, but her crooked smile as she strides ahead tells me she's not joking at all. The silences between us stretch. Finally, we stop talking altogether. The towns on the Meseta have a sameness to them. There is always a plaza, and the plaza always has a church and a rollo, a pillar where they used to hang criminals, and there is always a bodega or bar. Even the smallest crap and tractor town has at least 3 bodegas where the locals drink bull's blood coloured rocket fuel called Rioja. There is no more depressing experience on earth than arriving in one of these towns in the middle of summer, in the middle of the afternoon, in the middle of a heatwave, in the middle of the siesta. Welcome to Fromista.
Ellie, riding the wave across Spain. It is all over the news. A heatwave in Spain. Weather warnings are posted in all the papers, and ever so slowly, Colin and I are edging our way across one of the country's hottest regions. 9 hours after leaving Castrodriz, we arrive in Fromista. We've not spoken since crossing the bridge after St. Nicholas, the official entrance to the province of Palencia. I'm excited about the ancient bridge, not because of its historical relevance or the spectacular battles it has witnessed over hundreds of years, but because the province of Palencia borders the province of Castilla y León. The capital of Castilla y León is the city of León. The city of León rests at the foot of the Cantabrian Mountains. On the other side of the Cantabrian Mountains lies the province of Galicia. At the end of Galicia sits Santiago. Believe it or not, I am genuinely ecstatic. Carl does not share my enthusiasm. He's still wishing he stayed at St. Nicholas, the monastery where everyone gets pissed at breakfast and parties all night. I told him I didn't mind if he did. But he is caught between needing to be there, wanting to be alone, and needing to be here with me. Though at this point, I'm wondering why. Perhaps despite the circumstances, he is scared to leave another woman for fear she might break. Maybe I should have made it easier for him and insisted he stay. It may have been just what he needed. He's been particularly edgy since we left Burgos, and his moods are becoming harder to deal with. I don't know how to treat him anymore. Being passive about it isn't working for either of us. Until we separated in Belorado, Colin and I had made a good team. When one struggled, the other would step in. Usually it was me struggling, and Colin's company was a source of humour and assurance. But since then, we've both been fighting separate battles. I want to help, I want to do more, but the silence is killing me. We're like a pair of wounded dogs. One wrong move and somebody could lose a limb. He talks a lot about religion lately. I've seen him walk into every church we pass, stop at every chapel or roadside shrine, as if searching for a symbol or an image to exemplify his faith. Perhaps he thinks it will mean more if he can see it. If the churches are open, he slips inside only to return more disappointed than before. I wonder what he expects from them, from the concept of God or from ordered religion. What will it take for him to find peace? And why don't I feel compelled to enter any? Does that make me shallow or content? In Logrono, Colin asked where my faith comes from and what inspires me to keep walking. I told him I've approached each mountain or hill we've climbed one step at a time. To stand at the bottom and look up to the top would mean certain failure. I talked myself out of it before I even got halfway. So instead, I pull the peak of my cap down over my eyes so I can only see each step ahead, and I draw inspiration from those in my life I've admired, stepping out the traits they had, qualities I hope to one day hold. Strength, courage, compassion, patience, persistence, love, loyalty, grace, honour and pride. This, to me, is a facet of faith, believing in something greater than yourself that inspires you to do better. Faith is never right or wrong. It is unique to each individual, and my own faith is broad and undefined. Like many, I believe in a universal force, a light, something stronger and far more powerful than myself, a source greater than this world. But I don't presume to know where it comes from, or whether I'm even capable of defining it. I have no name for my God, no title, label, or official laws by which to abide, just my own personal and very mortal moral values. It's a far cry from my Roman Catholic upbringing. I was raised by a practicing Catholic family, attended Catholic schools, but left the church behind long ago when I realised that according to the commandments, most of the people I loved wouldn't be accepted into the heaven I was taught to aspire to. They weren't bad people, they just weren't staunch Catholics. When I was 7, my second grade teacher told me they didn't drink beer in heaven either, so I decided then that even if they could get in, half of my family wouldn't go. Eventually I found that the church that told me not to judge was too judgmental for my rebellious teenage liking. Either it was wrong or everything I believed was. I couldn't change the Catholic Church, but I could change myself and what I chose to stand for, so I did. I spent years feeling guilty about religion, both in the church and away from it. Until one day, kneeling in the sand at Abu Simbel in Egypt, something inside me shifted. In the shadow of the massive 3,500-year-old masterpiece and running a handful of desert sand through my fingers, I realised I was but a single grain in the entire desert around me, and that desert was merely one among scores on Earth, and that the Earth was just one of hundreds of billions of planets in our universe, and so on. The world I was in was infinite. I had never felt so insignificant and yet so profoundly inspired. For I knew then that although my life was essentially meaningless, a single grain of sand, it still meant a lot to a handful of other grains. They say you can't change the world, but the truth is, you affect a number of lives within it just by being here. Suddenly religion didn't matter as much as faith did, and in letting go of one, the other grew. I don't question my faith anymore, I question myself. Faith is the only thing I'm ever sure of. I don't know what a man does without it, but it's something so personal. Only Cole can work that out for himself. Naturally, I wish there were more I could do for him. Silence doesn't usually bother me, but with Colin, it's excruciating. Hours of nothing interspersed with the occasional spat of self-chatter or a brooding sigh that could be heard from 10 paces away. In and out. Like sneezing dust from the lungs, or rather, clearing shadows from the depths of the soul. I want to tell him to stop beating himself up, but I'm afraid it'll set him off. Perhaps what I have to offer isn't what he needs. One thing is for sure, he needs to take this out on someone. I'm here, and whether it has anything to do with me or not is irrelevant. I'm the obvious target. It's a matter of time. You right, mate? What? Oh, yeah. Fine, maybe I'm just being sensitive. In Fromista, Colin finds the nearest bar while I find a bed. It's not a pretty town and my foot is in a bad shape. It's not the blisters so much anymore, it's the bone in my right foot. Thanks to the walk into Burgos, I'd not mentioned it until half an hour out of town. It is slowing us down and that's frustrating Colin. After dinner, 4 beers and a bottle of wine, Cole finds me to ask me about my foot, reminding me again of his 12 years' experience in the volunteer ambulance service in his hometown of Perth. I lie back on the bed and lift up my leg to show him. He examines it, poking and prodding at the clump of swelling below the ankle. I grip my teeth and wonder why the first thing anyone does when examining an injury is poke it. Does this hurt? Yes. How much? I could scream, but I'd rather you take my word for it. By this stage, an interested young Russian cyclist has wandered over to watch. He sees the blisters and bruises and cringes. Just from walking? Yes, just from walking. Crazy. Yes, crazy. Cole informs me that he thinks the injury is serious. How serious? Well, it's pitting. What's pitting? I scoff, amused by the term. He removes his finger from the puffy mound, leaving a perfect half-inch divot embedded in the size of my foot. I heave with laughter. That's fantastic. The poor Russian boy just heaves, running for the door, holding his stomach. I take Colin's advice and agree to go to the medical infirmary in the next town, Carrion de los Condes, to get it checked. The divot is still there when the Russian boy returns with 2 friends who have come to see for themselves. I can't blame them, it's hideous, but the smiley faces Colin and I mould into it with our fingers are very funny. They take photos.
Colin, the Tour of Santiago. Next morning, the plaza is a kaleidoscope of colour. Not birds or flowers, but cyclists in lycra. They pour out of the albergue in high spirits. As well they should. They have a support vehicle. All this particular brand of happy pilgrims have to do is put gel in their hair, adjust their Ray-Bans and look good. What's in the support vehicle? Spare bottles of hair conditioner, a blonde masseuse, a spa bath and all their luggage. On the Meseta there is a continuous procession of cyclists. It has become the Tour de Santiago. There is something distinctly non-spiritual in this, it seems to me. These bastards just aren't suffering enough. They're outside the spirit of it. I'm sure that in 1423, when St. Peter the Po-Faced passed this way, he didn't make his pilgrimage in a pair of red, blue, green and purple lycra leotards. But in 2004, no one cares. When they arrive in Santiago, they will still get a certificate giving them remission of sins, the famed Compostela. There's something not quite right here. Everyone tells me that I'm sure to go to heaven for doing this walk. They don't know about me and the nun. But if this is true, I plan to use my newfound influence to right many of the wrongs of this world. One of those wrongs concerns pilgrims on 10-speed titanium mountain bikes. So when I'm sitting up there on God's right hand and a sweaty biker in crotch-hugging lycra stands before God's holy throne in his fingerless black gloves and holding his pilgrim's passport, I'm going to lean over and whisper softly in his ear, and God's going to take my advice and tell the Lance Armstrong wannabe to take his aerodynamically designed helmet and his fluoro pink water bottle and